to mention that in the United States there are effectively 13 currencies that are in circulation. We have 6 that are coin and 7 that are paper. So this again is going back into the main topic, which we're dealing with economics. Our people across the Atlantic, or what they're calling the Atlantic, but we're going to call the Ethiopian Ocean. Okay. Our people across the Ethiopian Ocean have effectively been seduced by one of these 13 currencies. You know, this is why it's easiest for the African billionaires, the ones that are not doing the right thing, to manipulate their people and to chase after the almighty dollar for their family and their extended families. You know what I'm saying? While at the same time, robbing the continent poor of her resources. So one of the things that being that we don't control any major distribution companies, we don't control any, even of the so-called black TV stations. We don't control them, at least not the people in the so-called conscious community. So what we have to do is to first take care of this house first, get as many of us on the so-called righteous path and coming together. Then when we're able to build skyscrapers over here, when we're able to build schools over here, I'm talking about the conscious community now, you know what I'm saying, and we'll be able to take our dollars, and then we go with as a economic force across the waters. Then we'll be able to make those people understand the power of the conscious community, and then the power of them getting back into their righteous minds. But as long as we got Bob Johnson and Oprah and then the rappers and the movie stars, doing what a little bit they're doing, but you know what I'm saying, their images are being controlled, we can't do that. When we have our own financial structure, then we'll be able to control our own image. You follow? So
I'm definitely seeing it.
That would, to me, would be the most effective methodology to be able to combat the BS that is being exported across the Ethiopian Ocean.
As far as us African Americans, black, whatever we want to call ourselves, like I always say, we are pretty much responsible to the rest of the world, even though we say that, a lot of people say Africa is responsible, but we're the ones that's been taught by the European system. That means that we understand, most of the stuff that they did, and if we don't, we know where to go find it at. Some of us do. But when you think about Africa, right, we can't forget what the so-called black Americans did when they went to Liberia. They went over there with I'm dominant over you towards the Africans. So, a bitterness was created from the black Americans that returned to the father motherland, to Africa. So that's one thing that we can't forget. Now, when we look at how valuable we are to pretty much all African people, African Americans, and this has been said, and I know plenty of people already know, in 2012 our purchasing power will be $1.2 trillion. That puts us in between the 15th and 16th richest nation in the world. All right, this is what we spend. This is not what we earn. Like I made the comment of Milwaukee blacks earn $3,557,000,000. That's not, like I said, it's not talking about what we earn as far as income. So we have finances that assist other countries. As far as trade between Africa and us, you have people like I know a sister that just went over there. She made some connections in Nigeria. So you have people that are willing in Africa to work with us. Our thing is we just have to do the research like we do the research for knowledge and find out who actually wants to go into partnership with us. We can't go over to Africa with a capitalist mentality. Capitalism is, individual. I'm going to do for me and mine. We have to go back to Africa with a collaborative or, like I said before, a group economic plan ideology. One thing that I find that black folks in America do, they fall into the ideology that, I don't have any money, woo, woo, woo. But when you look at the Nubian nation, we didn't have any money. But we came together collectively and we're able to build a entire black city. We got blocked on some stuff, but we were still able to get up the pyramids, the different structures. You had people that lived on the land. Then we had communities outside the land that supported the land in order to build this black city. So, we had the means, and as far as the Wabians, some of us understand this group economic methodology. So the whole thing is we just have to get ourselves right first, get on the right path. I went to school, like I said, to learn the structure of the Europeans, because when they kidnapped Dr. York and ended up, systematically taking down the land, which they did illegally, as we find out, but, Europeans do what they do. We just have to understand who we are and what our capabilities are, and we'll be all right. But we are responsible to those that are being affected by Europeans now, because, like I said, we've been trained by them. We know their system better than anybody else. And the number one thing is group economics. We could do whatever needs to be done.
Yes, brother. But my brothers, I tell you, you have very much confirmed a lot of the things that I've been saying to people for such a long time. And, you get a lot of backlash, religion, things like that. I've been preaching growing food. I've been preaching horticulture. I've been preaching aquaponics, hydroponics, indoor growing, outdoor growing, making soil, composting, just self-sustenance within our people. And I believe that might help us at least start gaining some kind of a self-awareness and self-independence from this society. And what you were mentioning as far as getting together with the African brothers and sisters, I did get some information from one of them to where you can go visit either a consulate, and it might be best to go as, in a diplomatic form of fashion, but go to their consulate and approach them as far as wanting to make business investments. And from what I hear, they might let you have a list. And on that list are businesses that you can contact, to find out what kind of trades you can do with Africa. I know Morocco has a free trade agreement with America, but they are not. All of them are not us. There are some Berbers who look like us, but all of them are not us. So we can't really depend on them. They believe in the American society. I do know that for a fact, because I literally beat this one thing into so many people's heads before I got banned off of Instagram for the things that I say and do, is that a cruise ship or they're selling cruise ships, and this was Marcus Garvey's highlight when he brought those 2 cruise ships and started sailing them. I know for a fact that they sell cruise ships for $700,000 to $1 million, and these are fairly nice cruise ships that can fit at least 700 people in them. Right. I was trying to get the group economic thing happening and saying, who's willing to invest $1 in this cruise ship idea? I couldn't get any response. I couldn't get people to say, I'll give $1 to this. Even if it failed, just $1 to it, maybe we could buy a fleet of buses afterwards if it was 30. Who knew? But it was just the idea of this cruise ship costs $700,000. Can we go try to buy it? And it was hard to really get that point across. What I don't know how to say, maybe a foundation, a trust within their system. How can our people start to become dependent? Do you think we need to start our own maybe credit union or banking system? I know Moors walk around with gold in their pocket. I don't want that trouble. Right. Is there a monetary system within their system that we can set up to really like you say, with what Dr. York had going on, it would be invested within our own community. So we'd invest in our own farmland or our own tractors and produce and things like that. But the money would be, I guess, brought from outside of the community, kept in the community, and recirculated as far as Jewish National Bank of Brooklyn or things like that. I'm not even familiar with Milwaukee and how they're structured set up, but I know if you went to Utah, you would probably have to go to a Mormon credit union bank and spend money within the Mormon society. So how can we start taking over major cities? Is it possible to just form little banks, including with the internet right now?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely possible, but the thing is we have to find that right terminology. And that's the thing that, we avoid, many of us avoid, is finding that right terminology. And I said it several times. You have the certain economic systems, and every state right now has an economic system that, a business license that everybody looks over, but it's starting to grow now. For us, we're kind of late. The farmers have been doing it for a while, and it's called cooperative associations, right? And those are collectives to where members will own a business. You hear about business owned and operated. Some are cooperative, some aren't. But if you look at how this structure is set up, it's a democratic structure. You still have leadership. Everybody votes on the ideas or, the business ventures as a whole collective, and you end up being the owner of the whole cooperative. And what happens with us is we're still caught, like I said, in a capitalist system to where we think we don't have to do it on our own. But if you take, like, for instance, you, Grippo, and me, and we start our own business, we benefit from the profits and the losses. So, they have structures out there because that's what credit unions are. Credit unions are cooperative associations. That, like I said, that's a legal term. So it's all possible. The whole thing is that, we can't get weary in our struggle to make people aware. We have to get out here and keep on pushing like you're pushing on the blog radio and your blog. And, just keep educating the people. We've been doing this as far as the Nubian nation for almost 20 years. I know Grippo's over 20. I'm like 17. So, the whole thing is just to be persistent. Like we wrote in the book, Religion, Politics, and Freemasonry, we put in there about how the Jews, they didn't have anything. The Zionist Jews, they came out of Russia. But the one thing that they did have was persistency. So our thing is just to be persistent, find the information, because if somebody's doing it, obviously it can be done, and people are doing it, and it's found under what they title cooperative association.
Legal terminology that we need to start understanding. I definitely respect that.